Well, you didn't know snow last year, brother.
Oh, you're talking about.
It's really come on underneath every day.
Oh, now.
I know.
There's no paper. Yeah, right.
And Tuesday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Very fun.
And so there's no repeating and typing.
That's why I didn't notice
Oh, no, no, that's a good
those
thing.
guys right more.
They ask us not to
What you use.
publish anything. State order, always let's put the news
You
press.
know,
He wants to go budget side with me.
my dad,
I'm a manager of that school since man hours.
We posted that.
Not only six, I might say the court. And what I would think of
my
doing
dad and my sister were on the way to South Texas for the winter. And 2 weeks ago, you had to have a kayak get through Main Street of the town where they live. And it's been a drought for 5 years.
and through Lois,
Oh, yeah.
through lawsuits.
My sister like a couple of grand.
She'll be here at 6:00. Who's that? Dana.
Can't eat that stuff during a workshop. Can't eat that during a workshop. Get real.
It's on the diet. You don't need it.
No, I'm not on a diet.
I'm passing.
There you go. Let's see.
Okay. We're gonna open this workshop. The tentative agenda was the water tower maintenance agreement, the Z Highway Surface Transportation Program, and road improvement between 55 and Highway 6167. And then after that, we're going to have a closed meeting. So, go ahead, Mr. Brown, we'll let you discuss the water tower maintenance agreement. We know we had two gentlemen come in and give us presentations at the last meeting. I don't know where anybody stands on what they want to do with either agenda, either bid or how we want to go about this, but talking to Dicky that he thinks that we should take one of the things, I believe, him and Keith support that, right, Keith?
What's that?
You support turning over the water towers to one of the maintenance?
For the maintenance agreement, if it's
Right.
possible.
Yes.
I personally think it's been done a lot and it works out real good, it seems like.
Okay.
You know, last meeting we had a presentation. We had two. You're waving there for a minute. You know, last workshop we had a presentation from the two.
Still can't hear you. You gotta talk right into it.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Yes, we are.
We had two presentations from two potential vendors on the project. Now, by ordinance, I have to go out and try to find 3 more. Whether they submit a bid or not, doesn't matter. I still have to go out and find 3 more qualified vendors and allow them the opportunity to bid on it. Means they have the same opportunity to come in, look at the systems, see what's wrong, and submit those bids. Now, if it's a no submittal, they don't submit any bids, it counts as a bid, or no bid. So that's a piece of it. Now, as I informed the gentleman the other day, and Tom can jump in on this too, when I asked them about if they had their maintenance agreement required an annual fee. Both of them, if I'm not mistaken, said their agreements do not require an annual fee. As you know by state law, we can't carry financial obligations beyond one fiscal year. We can't make payments, so to speak. So that has to be clarified with any vendor that takes this job. That's the first thing. And Tom and Ben can jump in if I'm off base.
No, Dickie, I believe you're right, and that's why, since they do so much work for municipalities, that's probably why they've crafted it that way, to be in compliance with the law.
I like the idea of having an agreement that we have one person, that when we have a problem with our tanks, we call and come out and work on it. They have to agree to no financial obligations. It's basically renewed each year with them. And I like that agreement. I think as Keith is the expert on our tanks, and he, really he's the one who's going to give us guidance on the two tanks, the two worst tanks, I believe. Those are the ones we target first. And then the other ones would be part of that agreement process. The cost of that, I don't know what that is. I don't even want to speculate. But it's going to be a few zeros behind those bids. As we can speculate, that's going to be accurate. I had Keith come in today so you can have a chance, the board in particular, to ask Keith specific questions about our systems, what the concerns are, and what his recommendations are.
Okay, so who's gonna start with the board asking questions?
Well, I'll ask one of the most important ones.
Can you mic, please?
I'm sorry. I'll ask one of the most important questions. How long has it been since the two tanks that we're talking about, I think, are up on Alta and the other one in Southern Heights? Am I correct?
Mhm.
And how long has it been since they've been serviced completely?
Well, the one since they was built, that's been approximately about 10 years, I believe, since it was built. They put it all together and painted it, and
That's Southern Heights, right?
yeah,
Okay.
it's never been touched since. We did video them, in 2010. That was the last time everything was checked. That's how we realized that, they need attention. The water quality is all good. They're not producing any bad water qualities. You're just letting your tanks deteriorate, and they're pretty expensive items. That's why you want to stay on with maintenance. So that's all I'm doing, is presenting it to you that we need to start something and do something on maintenance. It's been a while. Alta's the same way. It's been, I think, like 8 years since it was done. The outside was done, but they didn't do the inside on the little tank. When they come back and just repainted it. The outside, they're not that bad. We do have prices on them refurbishing everything. The little tank up there is below standards. It needs some work done to it. It could use new vents. It could use some safety ladders put on, some safety rails, a few things like that. The prices do include the upgrade. And it all needs to be addressed and brought up to code on them. The other ones are all good as far as being up to code because they're not that old. But the two up there, the other one's got some vent issues, I think, on it as far as the way it's designed. Need to be addressed and maybe changed a little bit. But all in all, they're not that bad, but they do need to be addressed. And the companies I talked to, they would just as soon, instead of doing just the inside, which we can, it's all choice, they'd just soon do them and be done with them, do them right. That way, and I kind of agree with them if the money's there, because they're done. You don't have to mess with them again, other than inspecting them every 3 to 5 years. Maybe look at them, divers, take them down, check them, and then fill them right back up if there's not a problem. And they're saying their paint jobs now, the way the quality of paint is, and the way they're putting them on there and everything, that they'll last, 10, 15 years, maybe even 20 years in some cases.
Well, I think they were kind of concerned with mold and mildew on the insides as well as the outside. So some people are complaining about the taste of the water. That may be part of it. Plus the bugs and the birds and everything else that's laying in there.
There ain't no birds in there, but the water's tested. You know, we do, vaccine samples every 2 weeks. Haven't had a problem.
Well, they showed some holes that were on the vents up there that birds could get in.
Well, they could possibly, I guess, if they wanted to or tried to, and it has been happening, never here over the years, different places, but there's no sign of any birds up there that I'm aware of.
Okay. That's for me.
So you're saying the Alta tank, the small tank, was painted 8 years ago?
It's somewhere around in there, 8 or 10, just the outside. That's when Thomas come in, and they done a bad job on it, basically what it amounts to. It was kind of a crappy job, and it was fading, and the clear coat they put on it, they didn't get it on right, and it was really in bad shape. So after Dave Thomas contacted me one day and said that he'd been getting complaints, because people call me in reference to them, and I just tell them, look at them, they speak for themselves. So he come up and looked at them, thought they was bad. He made a deal with the city buy the paint, he put it all on for free. So that was back in Happy was here, they did that, they chose to do that. But they
Okay.
just did the outside, they just coated them.
They just more or less coat right over the old paint and everything else?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we get them done this time, if we go with a company that's going to manage our tanks, I would think that they're going to take them all the way down to the bare metal
Yeah.
and do everything right, so if they're in charge of our tanks in 5-6 years, they're not going to be redoing this, right?
Right. And if they do, it'll be done at their expense.
At their expense. Okay. Because, if I'm not mistaken, the 2 presentations we had at the last meeting, they showed like paint with bare rust all the way down in parts of the tank up on Alta.
Yeah, I wasn't here for their presentations, but, my understanding is they'll take them all the way down to where.
But we do have rust spots up there that the paint is gone in spots, like.
Not on the outside so much.
Not on the
that
outside.
I'm aware of. I haven't seen none.
Okay.
The paint on the outside don't look that bad to me, but I'm no paint expert, They come up there and do a paint test, so they cut little slices in it, put tape on it, and they pull it off, and they judge it by how much flakes come off of that.
Okay.
And that's how they determine that the paint's breaking down and needing to be. And they say that it is breaking down and it needs to be recoated.
Okay.
So you're saying not on the outside, so we do have that problem on the inside?
Yeah, the inside is the worst. That's the part that they need to.
And how long were we aware of this? Since this video died?
Yeah, back in 2010, yeah.
And we're in 2014, and none of this has been addressed.
Well, I brought it to their attention every year. I brought it to the board's attention, but it was always there wasn't no money. I just really didn't have the money back then.
2010, we had a water increase in this town. 40%, if I'm not mistaken. And is that Alta 1 or 2 tank, the small? What is that, the big one's 1?
Yeah, out the one's a little one.
Is a little one. Okay, which is our tank that actually has the screen that's damaged on it?
The oldest one.
Which is number 1.
Right.
And how long has that been taking, how long has that been like that to our knowledge?
I don't climb them every year. It's been a few years since I've been up there. I guess since, I don't know. I have to go back and review the video on the divers, what they said about it. But,
So it's been 2 years since you've been up there?
at least that, 2 to 3 since I've been up
Who goes up there when we do that?
there. Nobody unless we have a reason to go up there.
Okay, so 2 years ago you were aware, and did you bring it to their attention that there was, the screen was damaged or?
I don't recall it being that way 2 years ago. don't recall coming and saying specifically the screen was damaged. I don't remember it being
But
that way.
But our video was taken how many years ago, 5, 6?
In 2010,
And it was like that then?
well, I'd have to go back and review it. I don't know if that's on there or not, anything about the screen damage. That stuff rusts, you know, year over year, and the screen's always been a little big, you know, really. It's a little bigger holes, but DNR's always approved it. Of course, they don't climb up there either. They just go by the specs on it. As long as there ain't no problem and the water quality's been good, they have no reason to.
We might need to check into a program where we're climbing these towers at least once a year and doing a visual inspection ourselves as a city, or pay somebody.
Get somebody to do it, you know, because you're looking at some go over 100 feet, you know, stuff like that.
Well, it's just a shame that if we were aware of that issue,
I mean, I can have it put in to where they get inspected every year, it's not a problem.
well, I have a problem if we know that that's been going on for, say, 24 or 48 months, and nobody's talked to the board, the mayor. I mean, we're probably talking something that the mayor could have just okayed for under $1,000 to pay a contractor or somebody that's not scared to go over 100 feet and put a screen on there with zip ties or something. You know, I don't know. I just, you know, that's what these citizens are drinking. And I think with the increases and everything that they've had in the past 4 or 5 years, I think we owe that to the citizens to give them a quality of water in this town.
Well, that's why we've been trying to get something done to them, you know.
And I realize that, and I appreciate that, and that's why I addressed
To
you
be done. and
many months
they
back.
Need to be taken care of, so. But,
That was a priority when I got into this position, is to take care of what needs to be taken care of for the city. Instead of you going to the board and to the city administrator, and they don't have the funds. Well, you know, we have to have the funds. Because if we don't have clean water in this town, we don't have nothing. And the minute that this gets condemned, and the minute we have to go to C1, that means there's people out of jobs here. That means that the citizens are paying more money for a service that they've been paying good for years.
We've always had excellent quality of water in DNR reports. And, you know, we're getting ready to do another DNR report inspection coming up here within the next few weeks on
But
the
it-
main system.
I guess what my point is, and you know, I asked you right after I got into office about getting stuff together for these towers.
I did.
Yes, you did, promptly, and I appreciate that. But, you know, it needs to be addressed, and that's why we're here, and that's what we need to do, but it should have been addressed prior. Regardless if the city had money or no money, or we have to appropriate the money to what the money's for, do the right thing. And there's a lot of people out there aren't real happy with knowing after seeing a video of their towers and their water. Regardless of, I know the water quality's good.
Yeah, truthfully,
But-
the videos, the water's not that bad now.
And I'm not saying it is,
You know, I mean,
but when you see
that's what
damages,
we go by, and we go by the water, you know, tests that we do, and I mean, we're very proud of our water. We've never had a problem with any contaminations of any kind in this system, you know.
but we're on a borderline of having that problem.
I wouldn't call it a borderline.
If it's not addressed like we're doing now and trying to
Well,
approach.
eventually it may
Yes,
get
it
there,
is.
but I think you're a ways from it. But I'm just trying to bring it to your attention that we need to do something, because one of these days it's gonna be really bad, you know.
Well, that's
So we need to
that's
get
why
them-
we're here and that's
we
what
need to
we're
get them
addressing.
now before the tanks do deteriorate. I think everything is fine as long as we address it and get it going and get them taken care of. Keep letting them go another 10 years, yeah, you may have problems.
You know, that's what we're here for.
Okay, Tom's brought up something though.
Yes, sir, I was just kind of curious. I know we have an agreement with C1 Water District, and that expires in 2017. What kind of impact is this, all this funding that we're putting in? Is that something If it's determined they take it over, how's the PSE lawsuit gonna impact it? I think those are some factors that need to be considered in this. Do you know anything about that,
I
sir?
don't know a whole lot about it. I just was made aware of it here just like last year, that there was some kind of an agreement with them. Other than that, I know nothing of it. I know, you know, the district has a territory that the commission, you know, dedicates to them, and the city's moved over that, and the city's kind of just kept building. They never had no water down this way. And they finally got a line down to, I think it was up there by Jim Bell somewhere, and that's where we hooked in with them. Back when Happy was here, he had us hook in as emergency service to them, you know, to where we could help them, they could help us. And we're that way with Herky too, you know, hooked in, and District 7, we're hooked into those also. So I really don't know what all the agreement involves in. I just heard bits and pieces that in 2017, there's supposed to be some litigation going on, that they're gonna try to take over a third of our system, you know.
Yeah, and that was kind of my understanding too.
And I guess Ashley and Barra did most of the groundwork for that, if I understand correctly. And we'll have to look at the documentation, see what that language is in there. I know we have received some information here recently about it, but it really wasn't much at all. It just was pretty generic in what they were saying, that it's still ongoing. So that's some research we're going to have to do, find out. I'll have to dig through some old records, see where they're at.
I never was really involved in that much. I've always kind of.
And I have limited information about that also.
Yeah, I think all of us do, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think if we have some kind of maintenance plan, maybe we ought to gear it to the ones that are in our territory first in the eventuality, because unless they're bad not producing quality water, because like you said, we're over jurisdiction in one part, and then we have to find out, first of all, with this PSC lawsuit, what they're gonna decide, and then in any event, in 2017, the agreement's up anyway.
So before we dump a bunch of money into
Southern Heights.
Southern Heights or Hunter's Glen, we might want to check it out to make sure we're
It
not.
also runs into Tierra, the Abbey, the Vineyards, Glen Olmo Trailer Park up there, Heathercrest, all of that's included into that.
Wow.
I ain't sure about Mason Circle, but it's a big area.
I'll have to get with Keith and the staff, look through see if I can find some records of that, and I'm sure Terry's got some in the office somewhere. I'll have to find those, and we'll have to just sit down and read those documents, see what it says.
And I just thought about that when we started discussing it and all, but that's a consideration that has to be put forth. Obviously, though, we have to be in compliance with whatever laws or regulations when they take it over too, or that will bring a lawsuit, so.
Well, I don't think they take over our tanks.
There'd be
To take over the whole water
only
system.
two tanks involved.
2 tanks or 3?
Well, 3 count Hunter's Glen too. They take
Right.
that, it'd be 3 of the 3 new tanks. That would all be included in that, plus the booster station.
So they would actually
But I
take
don't see how
possession
it's
of
gonna-
them tanks that the city paid
You know,
for?
the only way they're hooked into, they're only hooked into one spot with an 8-inch line. And I don't know what their pressures are over there, but I don't see how they can supply enough water and fire protection to that big of an area.
Well, see, the problem still goes is this litigation we're in still. We're waiting for a judge's ruling on everything as of right now, so we're still up in the air, more or less, for the whole system over there. So, I mean, the city might be taking us all the way to the Supreme Court. Because by my understanding, this is like a test case for every community in
That's what it
Missouri.
is.
That's what it is, it's the
So-
first, it's
So
the test
this
case.
is,
Beginning
so
stage.
the city is stuck into this lawsuit that we've already paid thousands and thousands of dollars out. And it's, like I said, we're just waiting now for a judge's ruling on how they're going to do this. And Lashley and Barrett, we just discussed this with Rhonda a week ago. So everything's still, everything's still pending. So, yeah, we probably don't want to spend a whole, do the bare necessity of what it takes to keep our water tanks over on that side of town up, but,
So, excuse me, but at what point then does that side of town decide that, what do we have to do to secede from Pevely if they aren't gonna take care of us? Oh, we're a problem because of the NID, we're a problem because of the water tower, we're a problem because of everything.
we're not saying we're abandoning anybody, but
But we just hear that it's one of the two worst that needs the attention. So let's deal with it.
well,
Or let's stop paying taxes to the city. I'm not gonna go that far, but that's, a gut reaction.
well,
So, are we a second-class citizen? Am I a second-class
No.
citizen?
No, not
I
at
don't
all.
think we said that.
And nobody here has
I don't think
told
we
me
said
that to
that.
my face, I don't mean,
Okay.
okay, I don't, but from the, with, everything's in limbo, things will be in limbo from the sounds of it, from lawsuits for an extended period of years, if this is going to Supreme Court, potentially, we're looking at enough years that the 10 years that he's talking about from now being in serious trouble, we're gonna be in serious trouble anyway.
Well, if I may, sir,
Yeah,
the first step is to see what the Public Service Commission rules,
Right.
all right? Whether or not they have jurisdiction over any of these types of agreement, okay? Even if, C1 and Pevely prevail on that, we still have an issue in 2017 that we have to address on the territory of the water. And it may necessitate another agreement or something like that. But no one's saying that it's not gonna be quality water, that the citizens aren't gonna get their services because they are. That's the whole role of government. And the question is
how much we're going to,
yeah, whether we completely refurbish it or not.
I think we should get a bundle of money ready in case we are liable to get the okay and take care of these tanks. We need to have the money there so we can do that and not just put it off to the side and say, well, we'll wait for another year. So I think we need to put the money aside.
But isn't that why we increased our water rates 2.5 years ago? So we could have that bundle of money if we needed it. And where has that money gone? The Post-Dispatch today, an article said, a city audit last year revealed we should have over $1 million in our budget surplus, and we have absolutely none. So all of our dollars that we've been paying for water increases over the last 2 years has gone where?
well, now, the Greg here has told us that we have over $900,000 in our water account, so
Where
we
did the
do
Post-Dispatch
have.
get their information?
I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you. They didn't talk to me, but we have over $900,000 in our water account, plus we have an additional amount in our checking account. So somebody's giving you false information.
To your bare minimum, at least get the screening done, anything to get.
Yeah, Paul?
Just a brief comment on the towers. According to the two gentlemen that spoke here, okay, they were both in agreement along with the film that was presented, is that the two worst towers were Alta 1 and Alta 2, okay? So it would appear to me that we would look at those towers first, all right? And then there's less work, much less work that is to be done on the Southern Heights and the Hunter's Glen, although there are issues there. But there's much less work to be done on those two towers and very little work to be done on the industrial tower.
Is the Southern Heights one that has a bullet holes in
No,
it? No.
that's Hunter's Glen.
Ours do.
And that was from the presentation the other night. So it's not like it's not gonna, you know, it appears that the ones that need to be addressed first are Alta 1 and Alta 2. And we can still go a little while with the other towers. Not that we're going to ignore the other towers.
Okay, Steve.
Several years ago, we had a study done on the water. Why? What was going on with it? And the guy came and spent $7,000 to $9,000 for the study. The study's here, it's online, everything else. They told us we needed to double our rates on water and sewer in 2 years or 1 year. We chose the 1 year process to get it all up at one time. He also said every year from now for the next 10 years, you've got to raise at least 3%. If you skip a year, you're going to raise it 6% because you'll be short on money. At the time, too, when the past mayor was here, he was taking, as Sam would say to me, the water and sewer money, that was spread all across everything to pay for everything. When I got on, Don Minkus and I got on, we met with the municipal attorney. He said, you guys are liable personally for that money if you don't separate it. We came back to the next meeting, we made a motion to separate and put in 17 different accounts. Restricted funds. That's where all the money's at now because we did that. And that's why we need money to raise, get the water, tanks clean, everything else. Keith came to us and he gave us a chart. I got it here and everything else is color coded. First year is going to cost $350,000. Second year, $350,000. Third year, $350,000 to redo all the water tanks and start cleaning up. Then there's a maintenance agreement for each year. We go up and down, everything else too. He brought that to us. We had a study done. That's why we raised the water and sewer rates. So you can't keep blaming everything past boards and everything else. We knew about it. We want to do something about it. And we talked about it at the board meeting. We talked about putting it in this year's budget to start getting it going and everything else. You got a problem with the water tanks. They need to be cleaned. They haven't been cleaned for 10 years because the past mayor didn't want to do it. He wanted to spend the money on everything else.
Okay, Paul.
Okay. I agree with some of the things, but here's your study that you paid. We paid, the citizens of this town paid $9,000.
Yep.
Okay, went into this study. All right?
Okay.
Our water rates have been raised and raised and raised. It was part of the board, and I don't like going previous history, okay? But it's been a policy of this city, of this town, that the water and the sewer fund has been used for a slush fund. Anytime this city needed time, and the previous board, $250,000 twice, okay, was paid out. We have no proof. We're told that it was paid back. We have no proof that it actually was paid back.
That was an internal transfer.
It was an internal transfer, okay? Citizens are getting tired of their increase, and getting nothing for their money. Nothing. I'm not blaming this board. I am happy that you are taking this into account, but let's get our history facts straight.
Okay, well, we're right now here.
Here's the cost that you want to look at.
And we can't enter into a program like that. It's illegal,
Okay, Sam.
What's illegal?
a program like that.
If I could, in 2010, there was a 40% increase. In 2011, there was another increase. It's all well documented, and then obviously everyone knows about the big increase in 2012. That virtually doubled on top of everything else previously that had been raised. Now, what I'm trying to figure out, and I can't understand, is increase after increase after increase. You would think that maybe one tower could have been done, two, one at tops, and it's a bit perplexing to me that if we don't get to the bottom of exactly how many different directions this money is moving in. I mean, we know it gets borrowed against, and when I get asked the question, where do you think it goes? I said, go through a pay bill. Go through a pay bill, and you'll see under administration, you'll see under anything that you can look under. I mean, it's gone all over the place. And my issue with this is, regardless of what the board decides, whether they decide to do two, then you got to start to question on whether or not why the increase was so, there was two options given in 2012. The board at that time went with the highest option. There was two given, okay? Now, when Brown Consulting came in, which is a completely different issue, okay, he came in and says, well, you have to do all these things. You have to, you know, your towers are older, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This hasn't been done, that had been done. So I proceeded to ask this gentleman, I say, you're saying that we have to raise rates. And he says, well, he asked, is that because there's no money? And he goes, well, I can't answer that. I'm only here to tell you what you have, and that's it, what you have or don't have. Now, in short, if 2 towers are going to be done, then I believe the rates need to be reduced, because what my friend back here is saying is that you can't keep putting that off due to lawsuits on the simple premise of the fact that you're taking his money right now. If anybody else, that virtually covers Ward 1. You're taking his money now, so you're like saying, well, I appreciate your water money, but don't want to fix your towers. That's completely contradictory. And I just, you know, I find it completely unacceptable. I find it completely unacceptable that not 1 tower's been done.
Well, you know, Sam, I can't help it if 1 tower
I'm not blaming you.
is done
I'm not blaming
or not.
I'm not blaming
This board here hasn't been able to do anything as of yet. So that's the whole idea of, if we're trying to conquer now, is trying to decide which tanks we're going to do,
Okay.
and how much money we're gonna spend.
Sure. Absolutely.
So,
well,
I mean,
but wait, okay.
we're starting somewhere.
Oh, sure, and 1%, okay, is better, you know, as 100% when nothing was being done before. But however, you're collecting that money right now.
You're right.
And you gotta get to the bottom, is what I said is, if it hasn't been done, let's ask why, and then you wanna say, well, we might wanna hold off for lawsuits. Well, we might wanna hold off for this, but it's like, I think that's kind of unfair. I'm not in Ward 1, which is predominantly what the C1 stuff's gonna cover, okay? But however, you're collecting that money. No one seems to have a problem with collecting the money, but no one really wants to seem to get to the bottom of if we're gonna turn over maintenance, what are our people doing? And, you know, on down the line, and that's just what I'm trying to get at. I'm not blaming you for anything.
Hey, I made a comment.
Okay?
The rest of the board didn't say that they were gonna withhold doing the top tower over in Southern Heights or anything else.
Okay.
I'm not speaking. I'm only 1 vote, or 2 if it's a tie, so that's up to these people.
Okay.
So, I mean, just because I opened my mouth and said something doesn't mean that
let's-
they're agreeing with me
Well,
saying.
I didn't say that at all. I'm saying.
Well, sure you are.
You made it, okay, put words in my mouth. Then do that, okay. We'll play that game. But however, nevertheless, I was here to help address an issue and try to get through this field workshop. Obviously, you want to argue. I don't want to argue with you. I want to try to work just like last night. When you made some time for me last night, I tried to talk with you through this last night. Okay? And try to find out where the money's going. One thing we do know is that the towers have not been fixed. Bottom line. And the money's been being collected. I didn't blame you for that. Okay? I didn't walk around with campaign literature trying to help get you elected because I want to come down here and blame you for everything.
Whatever. Or sitting here just trying to.
Well, that's what it's a workshop for, Ed. That's what it's for.
That's right.
A little back and forth, you know?
Well, and that's good. That's
Yeah.
what we're trying to do, is look at all the issues that
Sure.
are out there to come up with a plan
Sure.
to fix a problem that
Sure.
everyone knows exists.
Right.
And what is the best way to go about it.
Absolutely.
And as Dickie said, the next step we have to do is get 3 other people to either submit or not submit.
Sure.
And that's what I think we're at right now, in all honesty. There's a lot of good conversation going on,
Yeah.
and I'm listening to all of it. We're still gonna continue to process forward, and get the initial pieces in place, get somebody decided, or get some contractor decided on, make some decisions based on what our determinations are at that time, funding availability and all that other stuff, and move forward. And I don't know what the future's gonna bring. I don't know what 2017 is gonna bring. I know what this board and myself and the city is committed to ensure we have good water quality and we maintain our tanks. That's the only 2 things I can tell you that I'm committed to. And that's what my hopes are we continue doing.
If I can say one more thing real quick. My concern was when I hear we're gonna wait for this or wait for that, my concern is that that's a big pile of money, okay? And it exists to fix what it's supposed to fix, which is water, that's it, okay? And I'm really concerned that I'm gonna walk in here 3 or 4 months from now, and we got this pile of money, and I'm gonna hear NID payment. And it's gonna be like, well, we don't have any money over here, we don't have any money over here, we we have a bunch of money right here though. And, you know, it's not a question of theory, it's a question, it's been done. It's been borrowed to make short funds. So I just want to get to that reverse, but where we're at and move forward.
So you don't want another internal transfer?
Oh, absolutely, you got it, Dave.
I'm
That's why
behind
Dave's
you.
big money.
I'm behind you on that.
Yeah, right,
I'm
exactly.
still looking for the first internal
Like
transfer.
250,000, I mean, on that internal transfer alone,
That's
just to
correct.
speak to that, I mean, that fixes a lot of stuff.
Now, I will tell you that that has been refunded, that has been repaid in full.
Okay, but, okay.
The
but-
proof,
uh,
the proof will come in the future, I can't give it to you now.
Okay,
It will come in the future.
but the bottom line is these things have not been fixed for 10 years, and the money was being borrowed. Bottom line,
I
yeah.
can't go back 10 years,
No.
I can only go from this point forward.
Well, you bet, but we have to also address exactly why we're at where we're at. And
We
then
have
move forward.
set things in place, it's not a budget comment, but I mean, we're gonna talk, things have already been put in place. Internal transfers can't happen anymore.
Okay,
There's other things, you know, those can't happen anymore.
okay,
We have to make sure that the money that is earmarked, water, sewer, road taxes, that's what they go for.
good,
We have to make sure that happens in the future.
good,
And, you know, and it's not me that makes that happen, it's the board that makes that happen,
right.
not me.
And
So-
our accountant.
Pardon?
And our accountant.
And our accountant.
Listen, that addresses a whole lot there, because that would be one of my biggest concerns walking in here, is that it's just too tempting for this city, regardless of what board's sitting here, to grab a big pile of money from somewhere. It usually consistently comes from those two departments.
Well, I understand that, I do.
Right. Yeah, that's what my concern is, so.
I believe this board's aware of that. I'm aware of it. Like I say, I can't stop them from doing it, but I would advise them that's not a good thing to do.
Oh, they're aware of it. I make them aware of it, yeah. They're generous with their time, and I make sure I make them aware of that, yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That gentleman back there has been one that's,
Please, everybody, I was not placing any blame, okay? I was reacting to a comment that was made, okay? A situation, okay?
That's an acceptable reaction.
Let me throw just another possibility out that kind of fits what I'm hearing from a lot of people about there's X number of dollars in the fund, and this is expensive, and I don't know which towers it will be. I'm not, and probably not the one, it may or may not be the one that I'm pulling water out, okay? I really don't care. But maybe another direction if, as Keith says, the need is there to get something in place, but the repair doesn't have to happen tomorrow. Okay, is that a fair statement? Yeah. Just thinking of my car, and if we have, from the list, there are some towers that need minimal right now. Maybe you bite off the little ones, get them done. They don't turn into big ones. You've used the money that's there, and move towards, if it's an elephant, which we've got in the room right now with the water towers, we got to do it a bite at a time. Maybe we pick the little bites, get them done, and then we don't have to deal with that when it's over. We keep moving forward. Just a thought, instead of looking at worst, maybe look at least and do several of the least.
Okay. Go ahead, Alderman.
Are we gonna wind this meeting up or go to our next one, or are we gonna continue? Because I want to ask Tom, clarify something with Tom, but then I wanted to ask Keith some questions.
Well, go ahead and ask your questions, Tom.
Tom,
Yes, ma'am.
am I understanding right then that we cannot, like, if we got towers done and wanted to lock in a maintenance contract for 20 years, we can't do that?
We can't have a 20-year contract, no, but we can have a projection of what we want done, and that's what it is. So it's not, we can terminate that contract at any time. It's renewable on an annual basis. But the idea is we have a plan in place, what we're wanting to do each given year over a period of time to keep it maintained.
And then from
But at
year to
any
year,
time, we can
contract.
say, we're done.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's the whole idea behind it.
okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Keith, what I would like from you is, to rank the water towers in order of, from the worst to first, the worst one to the best one.
Well, on my opinion, Alta Drive,
One,
yeah, Alta
Tank
Alta
one.
one, the small one. And then the Southern Heights, and this is based on video that I've seen, and also talking to the tank people. And then the big Alta, the big tank,
okay.
and then the other two, there's not much difference between either one of them. They're
Wouldn't
both
matter.
about, there's no big difference in them, and there's no real big concern with either
Okay.
one of them.
My next question is, best case scenario, if we had all the money in the world and we could do anything we wanted with these water towers, what would you like to see done?
Have them all done and put on the maintenance program, or some type of a program that's based on the maintenance agreement
Yeah.
program that they do each year.
And then, the other question that goes with that, if we have to go with the budget plan, what would you like to see done?
I'd at least like to get the inside of the two worst ones.
Yeah, okay.
And the screens, and the ladders, and railings, and
Anything else?
One
Okay,
quick
that's it.
question.
So,
Just one quick question.
sure, go
A lot
ahead.
of neighbors, we talk, walking dogs, we're talking. A few years back, they took the fluoride out of the water because of the budget. And then we were told just lately it was taken, kept out because it was deteriorating the equipment more. And is there a reason we don't have fluoride back in the water if we have all this money still in the budget for the water? Just a question we all have, why don't we?
We looked at the fluoride, the mayor asked me about it. I got some prices, we was looking at probably to basically get it started again, was around 20,000, I believe, somewhere around that area. And that's to get all the initial equipment bought, get everything hooked back up, and get it going again. We saved a lot of the old stuff, but after leaving them dry out, their diaphragm pumps, they dry out and they're done. So most of them would have to be replaced. But by having them, we just had them in the well house, and that's where everybody puts them. And I showed a lot of the aldermen, the gauges, they get a etching on them, and all the glass in there, it etches real bad from the fumes. And it destroys your electrical components in there, your points and conductors in there, and your electrical panels, because it all gets etched.
So you put it in an outhouse or like you do like?
You could get elaborate if you want.
I mean, away from your other
But
equipment.
there again, you're looking at, a bunch of extra money to do all this and build another building and put it in and all that. But it can be done, they do it. And the other thing was that we looked at, there's so much fluoride out there. There's some people that don't want the fluoride. And they don't feel like, well, why are you putting fluoride in the water and forcing me and my kids to drink that? Because fluoride is actually a poison. It really is. It's a byproduct of a mining gear lube like stuff that they use is what it actually is. And too much of it is very bad for you.
But that's where you regulated what you're putting in.
Exactly. We regulate it, we run tests on it, we have to keep it right. But
Right.
there again, there's people that don't want it. They don't want to be involved in it, don't want to have to drink it. Same as you want it and want to drink it,
I'm just curious why
Yeah,
we
but
were
in
told
the same
one
token,
thing.
they
how many
feel
years
there's
ago?
fluoride out there, there's dentist treatments you can get, there's fluoride toothpaste, fluoride mouthwash, fluoride dental rinse.
Hey, at my age, it's not an issue,
Yeah.
but I'm saying these families.
And the other study,
All that.
speaking of age,
We're just a big question we all have. Why?
but
But
speaking of age, it don't help the older people at all.
That's right,
It only
my
helps a
age is
certain
not
little
an
age
issue.
group.
nothing helps us.
But I'm talking about the young families that are moving in. It was just a question we had.
Yeah,
At
but
first we were
with all
told-
of that taken into consideration, we more or less opted not to go with it again at this time.
Okay.
There's enough people, I guess, concerned or wanted, the board could relook at it,
Thank you.
Wait just a minute, I have a question for you myself. The So all of the tanks, or how many tanks did we want to put this pump in the bottom of it so it keeps all the...
There's 3 of them that could use a mixer.
Okay.
We've never had a problem with an icing problem, we never had a problem with the mixing problem. It's a new thing that they've done studies on, and it shows that it does keep the tanks better, keeps a lot better quality of water. It lets you use the whole tank. Right now, the couple that fill and they drain from the bottom. So you're looking at the top third, the water just gets stale and sits up there. It's more or less just there for fire protection, you know, if you ever have to have it. And occasionally, maybe once a year, once every 2 years, I'll overflow a tank and let it drain. We gotta be careful doing that because certain people get upset, you know. But we do try to, once in a while, overflow them a little bit and get rid of that. And then we flush hydrants and things like that, helps keep the tank circulating and everything. But there's 3 of them that actually fill and
What, both of the Alta tanks and
yeah, both the Alta tanks and the Southern
in
Heights.
the Southern Heights, okay. And then the other ones,
The other
they
ones
take...
fill high and drain low.
Right, okay,
So they pretty much naturally circulate.
right. Okay, Paula.
I just kind of would like to ask the board, was there any further research done into the 2 companies that we saw bids on or presented bids the other night?
We're going to research on the companies?
I mean, was there any other research that you did, any other questions other than giving the presentation?
Well, no, during the presentation's the only time we've ever met with them.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, we're not allowed to have private meetings with
No, that's not what I'm
with-
asking.
as a group here.
That's not what I'm asking. Alderman Young, you had asked some questions at that workshop in regards to some of the OSHA things and some of the in regards to the paint that they used and everything, okay? And I don't mean to sound redundant here, but I do not wish for the town to have a second experience as we experienced with Pure Pleasure, okay? That's why I bring this forward with this information. And again, like I always say, please don't take my word for it, please look forward for yourself. And I did take some time into looking into these 2 companies, all right? And the first company, the McGuire Iron, that's a family-owned, 100-year established company, all right? They had quite a good reputation that they had. They gave some very good information in regards to the longevity and the life cycles of the tanks when they come in and do the work. They offered several different venues that we could go with. We could just do the interiors completely, do just partials, overcoats on the outside, but then they also offered the option if we did the whole thing, if we did the complete interiors, plus bringing up the items that were OSHA standards, and then also gave an option if you wanted to take and completely strip down the 2 tanks at Alta, in Alta. I don't know if you realize, but if you just do the 2 overcoats on those two tanks, within another 5 to 8 year period, those tanks are going to have to be stripped down completely. So it seems kind of redundant that we would not go ahead and spend the money now to make those tanks completely up to standards, where we increase the longevity of those 2 tanks to go all the way from 15 to 20 years plus, with only looking at it periodically, you know. And that was the total thing of putting in the mixers, doing the complete interiors, getting everything up to standard with the OSHAs, the ladders, all the screening and everything like that. That company also has gotten over $4 million in government contracts. I don't know if anybody's familiar with getting government contracts, but you have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get a government contract, and you have to have your standards, very high standards. They've done complete tanks at the VA facilities and several Indian reservations. They are from birth to death. on a well. They do everything, anything that you could possibly need with the well. If something came in later on, where right now we have the common inlet-outlet system on several of our wells, if for some reason down the road we would need to change that to 2 separate pipes, they can come in and modify. DNR comes up with any other new regulations, they can come in and modify the tanks, anything like that. When asked and looking into their OSHA violations and that, the only thing that they really had is that they have gotten a couple notifications in regards to containment when they're actually stripping down the tank, but they've never been violated, they had any serious violations with OSHA. Now with our utility services group, the gentleman that came here that night, he's strictly a salesman. He's a sales consultant, that's all he does. He's going to sell you his maintenance program, basically is what it is. That company is a general contractor.
Yeah, he doesn't do it.
They do not do it. Everything that it goes out, they subcontract out. What they have is they have supervisors that are supposed to be the supervisors on the job, but they don't. They have the other contractors do all the work. So if there's something that goes wrong, okay, you're maybe dealing with 4 or 5 different contractors there, although they're ultimately responsible. But let's go into this with eyes wide open. Is that what we really want to do? As late as Mr. Westhoff, he really was not quite confident in his OSHA violations. He would have to really look into it and everything else, but as of late as August of 2013, they've had fatalities. And with the people that they subcontract with, their subcontractors have received several fines. Now we all know that when you're talking about contractors and everything else, you are going to have some. Nobody's perfect. You are going to have some OSHA violations. That's it's part of the game. But then also in 2011, that company was known as Utility Services Company, and they changed their name and everything to Utility Service Group, and they've been in business for only 50 years. And when asked about the renovation and that, their exterior coating that they're going to put on, they said maybe guarantee it 5 to 10 years. Well, I think we've had that instance with Thomas Industrial. I don't think we need to repeat that. And their maintenance agreement, okay, is $1,500 per year per tank. And everything was more or less like that. So I just wanted to share that information with y'all.
But we still had to go out for
the bids.
the bids.
I understand.
And
Oh,
we
no,
also, and we still need 3 more, so
I
I mean,
understand that. I just wanted to bring some information to you. That's, like I said, this is a huge thing for us. I would hope that in everything that is this important to the city, that we find out as much as we can, because it has been our policy in the past that we eagerly assign with contractors, and then we wind up in the end paying some results that we don't want to pay. And so I was able to locate this information. I'm sure that you all can locate the same information that I found, because I'm not that computer literate. So I would just like to pass that on to y'all.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Ms. Spatford,
Yes,
for taking
thank
the
you
time
very
and
much.
doing that for us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much
You're welcome.
for your concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. The Highway Surface Transportation Program project. Yep.
As most of you know, the Z Highway Surface Transportation Program, or STP program, for the section between about Burger King up to Highway 61, 67. We do have funding, we have most of it's federal funding, some state funding, and then some transportation tax will also be contributed from the tax, from the city's revenue stream. There was an opportunity to meet some folks, some business owners, Cochran, some other places like that. That was a private meeting, that was not a public meeting, that for the record. It was not, like, again, a private meeting, but I did have an opportunity to meet those folks. And we're at a point now, well, it's a good transition for us as a city to take the lead on that project, to meet with some of these key players, see if we can get some understanding about the project and start moving forward as a city, as a community, moving that project forward.
Okay. And we're going to, next week's meeting, put 2 people to meet with, like, if you recall, Mayor Knobloch wanted to get an intersection out at Daniel Dunklin Drive. So Cochran has worked on a plan for that, but it still requires lots of companies to give easements in that. Mobile, Mr. Drury, the bank. So we will have to sit down and talk with them, and myself and someone from the board will need to, they'll have to agree who they want to meet, plus get an alternate person. And so we can sit down and talk to Drury and Wallace and the bank, so we can try to work out an easement so we can line that street up fairly close. I don't think we'll ever get it lined up perfectly across like Mr. Drury wants, but that's something we'll have to work on. Also, I'm sure there's going to be other easements problems down the road, but that's the main one. Okay. So at the next board meeting next Monday night, we will have to vote on a couple people from the board to sit on that committee. What else?
That's it for me.
Have anything else?
You asked the wrong person, buddy.
Well, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Okay. What I'd like to see this year is, and this is probably a shock to everybody because I ain't said nothing to nobody. I would like to see our court revenue, instead of going into a pocket to general fund, I would like to see our Tahoes paid off to Town and Country Bank in full and save us 4 years of interest, which we should have never entered into last year. Means we brought in over $500,000 revenue in courts, and we chose to finance 4 vehicles, which is ridiculous as heck. If my wife wants to go get a charge card out and go to, say, 25% off and use a charge card, it's 28%. I didn't save nothing, so let's don't go there. But I'd like to see that paid off in full. And beans we really pushed real hard in the past at burning our CDs up, I would like to appropriate $100,000 to $150,000 and buy us another CD to put in the closet for some rainy day, like when water pipes break up at home or something good. And let's see, we'll probably still have what, $320,000 to have some internal transfers. But I would like to see that done. I see no reason in having Tahoe payments over our head and paying interest on something that we have revenue in this city that is generated into this city. There's no reason for us not to spend our money wisely. I know if I have $1 million in the bank and I want to place at Lake of the Ozarks, I'm not gonna go finance it. I'm gonna take my cash and I'm gonna buy it. Sam, you hate that, don't you?
Okay. Is that it?
It's enough for this workshop, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. David?
You can come up
Dave?
with something.
No, not really.
Hilda? Okay. Anything? Okay.
Oh, hey, come on, I'm sorry, yeah, back up. I would like to find out what we're gonna do with this fall festival. Spring fling, whatever.
Well, I think the park board is the ones who's going to work on it at their next meeting. They're going to have a meeting Tuesday night, right?
Yeah, we
Perfect.
were, but we may.
No, well, I mean, this coming
Yeah.
Tuesday night, they
Yeah.
rescheduled. Yeah, they rescheduled because they only had 2 people show up
Tuesday
last
night, we
night.
got public
We've
hearing
got
on
this
state
other
law.
thing, so I'll have to call Mr. K and find out if
Okay.
he wants to change that.
Okay.
Okay, so are we getting something appropriated for the budget on that, or is it gonna be recognized? Do we,
Well, I mean, we're working on a budget for next year, so I mean, this would be something we'll come up with next year's budget. Yeah.
well, yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Paul?
I would like to ask you, please, and I don't mean to be smart aleck about this, but we have a $30,000 fine, and there's been people waiting for over a year to find out the results of this audit. I would appreciate it if it was put on that sign that the meeting is Tuesday night.
We're not allowed to post that.
Yeah, we can now because it's in the newspaper. It'll be put out there. We just posted that this evening, right before we left, that
It's in the paper.
the notice on the board.
I'd like to see it on the electrical
It'll be
sign out
there.
there,
It'll be there.
so that people can see all weekend long that is going to be transpiring. I would greatly appreciate
Dawn's
that.
really good about doing it, but I'll remind her.
Thank you.
But up until the time that they posted it, we're not allowed to post it.
I understand.
Okay. Gonna close?
Close the workshop?
Close the workshop. Thank you.
Yes.
We will go into the session right now. You want to take a break or?
Yeah, we'll wait 10 minutes and then we'll.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you.
Say hello to your wife. Say hello to your wife.
Okay.
I'll do that.
We all know.
See you later.